My name is Henriquez, and I serve as Program Officer at Carnegie Corporation of New York, which is a philanthropic organization established in 1911 by Andrew Carnegie to deal with real and permanent good in this world. I am particularly proud to be serving at Carnegie Corporation as the foundation nears its 100th year as a philanthropy. Carnegie Corporation's name has been practically synonymous with literacy for close to a century. The foundation's legacy includes over 2,000 free public libraries established by Andrew Carnegie. We also funded the development and initial production of the PBS television series Sesame Street, now celebrating its 40th anniversary. Today I will speak to you about our recent initiative called Advancing Literacy, which is working to expand knowledge and practices in literacy beyond third grade. Our work has shown that strong literacy skills beyond grade 3 is the cornerstone for success in high school and for college readiness and beyond. This insight grows out of an earlier initiative to reform high schools, which we funded with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The high school reform work, which was aimed at promoting systemic and district-wide reform in 7 urban communities, produced a critical, if unexpected, finding. Almost half of the entering 9th graders were reading several years below grade level. It became clear that the kinds of outcomes we wanted to achieve from this initiative, higher graduation rates, more students going on to college, more students taking advanced placement courses, were going to be difficult to achieve because of students' low literacy levels. The problem was not limited to these 7 districts. In fact, I learned that 8th grade reading scores had not improved in more than 30 years, and 70% of entering 9th graders were reading below grade level. Simply put, these high school students were not understanding or engaging with text. We discovered that struggling readers represent a substantial proportion of students who are dropping out of our high schools. As 4th graders, their scores are among the best in the world. By 8th grade, their scores are much, much lower. By the time they get to 10th grade, U.S. students' scores are among the lowest in the world. The surprising conclusion from this work was that good literacy, early literacy especially, instruction does not inoculate students against struggle or failure later on. And let me just say, while this issue is exacerbated by poverty and is particularly prevalent in poorer urban districts, the comprehension problem is also common in middle-class suburbs, exurbs, and rural areas throughout our country. This is a problem in every single one of your districts. It is clear from our nation's report card that too few students are reading at the most advanced level. And many students who do graduate from high school are not prepared for college coursework. This lack of strong literacy skill is so widespread that many colleges and universities have introduced remedial reading programs for the large numbers of freshmen unable to cope with the quantity and complexity of college-level work. 70% of students who take 1 or more college remedial reading course do not attain a degree or certificate within 8 years of enrollment. And this handicap extends into our workforce. Private industry estimates that it now spends as much as $3.1 billion per year to bolster the writing skills of entry-level workers. President Obama has pledged that by the year 2020, we will have the highest percentage of college graduates in the world. We've done a great job convincing nearly every high school student in the land that with a college degree comes the promise of career success. But it is all meaningless if those high school graduates don't have the fundamental literacy skills to succeed. So where does this leave us? We had thought, or hoped, that if you worked to get a student to read with proficiency by 4th grade, you could call it success and move on. If they weren't proficient by 4th grade, you'd prevail upon that hope and that they would catch up in later grades. Yet, it is after the 4th grade that far greater demands are placed on students' literacy skills and far less time is spent teaching literacy proficiency. At this point, students are no longer learning to read, but they're reading to learn. And that's what led us to create the Advancing Literacy Initiative. The goal has been to target reading for young people in grades 4 through 12. Since then, we have established and built research, policy, and practice specifically in adolescent literacy. Our reports and our studies have created a body of work to better understand the literacy needs of our students. So why do we have this problem of adolescent literacy to begin with? Middle and high school students must decipher much more complex passages. They need to synthesize information at high level and learn to form independent conclusions based on evidence. They must develop special skills and strategies for reading text in each of the different content areas, including science, math, and history. The demands of literacy change and intensify quickly after 4th grade. Texts are longer and more complicated, and vocabulary is more specialized. Additionally, students must grapple with the increasing importance of comprehending graphic representations, particularly in science and mathematics. There's also infrastructural issues. There's a shortage of qualified literacy experts to coach and teach students and teachers in middle grades and high schools. Teachers will argue that they are not literacy teachers, but teachers of content, so it is difficult for content area literacy instruction to take place. There's a decrease in student motivation to read as children progress from 4th grade through 12th grade. And middle and high schools are not accustomed to using assessments to identify and target students who need literacy assistance. So what can we do? Over the last 40 years, our nation's adolescent literacy rates have been stagnant. Recent success in improving early literacy is a very good start, but good early literacy is only a foundation, not the whole structure. We must re-engineer our nation's schools to support adolescent learning and ambitious goals for literacy for all. And this is how we can get there. First, increase Title I support for middle schools and high schools. At the moment, only 5% of federal Title I funds go to middle and high schools. If the nation is to remain competitive, we must increase our high school graduation and college-going rates among our most disadvantaged students. An infusion of resources at the secondary level focused on higher levels of literacy is critical to making this happen. Second, establish fewer, clearer, higher common standards. This will help to increase attention to reading and writing, especially focus on comprehension that can be embedded in other content areas. Third, fully fund and expand a comprehensive pre-K through 12 literacy continuum with specific support allocated for grades 4 through 12. Last week, the LEARN Act was introduced and was the first critical step to meet recommendations at the federal level. We acknowledge the work of Chairman Miller, Representative Polis, and Yarmouth for introducing this promising piece of legislation. Fourth, investigate the cost and benefits of linking the nation's report card to international literacy tests. While NAEP has been indispensable in tracking America's educational progress, it provides no sense of how America stands in relation to other nations. Funding an effort to equate long-term NAEP tests with international literacy tests such as PISA and PEARLS would allow us to get an instant snapshot of how our young people are performing vis-a-vis the rest of the world. And finally, increase federal funding for evidence-based research for adolescent literacy. We need to intervene and individualize instruction with students as soon as they begin to lose ground. We need increased government-funded research at NICHD and IES that could demonstrate how best to assess adolescents in order to determine their need for intervention and support. In conclusion, the status quo in middle school and high schools in America is no longer acceptable. It is based on a 20th century vision of the literacy skills which no longer guarantee success after high school. High school graduates today face higher expectations in the new global economy than ever before. I thank you for your time.